Gentlemen, we are going to start the council meeting, October the 16th, 2024. Welcome everybody who's here. I can confirm that all members of council are here, either present in the room or by Zoom. And I can also, obviously we have quorum. I need to say that. And I would also point out that the CAO, the deputy clerk, and other members of our senior management team are also present with us. And I would like to start with the land acknowledgement if I could. We want to acknowledge that we are on lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have cared for this territory for the benefit of future generations, and their stewardship throughout the ages is recognized. As always is the case, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and on its YouTube channel. And by participating in this open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, your voice, and your comments being recorded and posted online. We did invite public input on the agenda at the standard location, TML public comment at muskokalakes.ca. And I don't believe we received any. No, none was received. A supplementary agenda was not issued for this one. Before I go to the pecuniary interests, I would like to repeat the welcome to Jenny Huff, who has joined us in the planning role. Welcome. Welcome to your first council meeting. And I would also call out that we are joined as well by Emma DeMello, who, Emma, I understand you're going to be presenting on your very first day or not. Okay. Welcome anyhow. Sorry. I didn't make it last long. Okay. I'm going to see if anybody here has any interest they need to disclose, any pecuniary interest that would prevent them from participating in every agenda item. Councillor Nishikawa.
For Muskoka Community Futures, Foundation.
Thank you.
In the last month's minutes.
Oh, the last month's minutes. Okay, so pull those out.
Yes. On the board.
On the board. Okay. And all right, anyone else? I'm going to, and I haven't filed the paper for it, but I'm also going to step out on item, I think it's 11C, which relates to the HVAC matter at the community center, and the reason being that I own land adjacent. Okay. Just by way of explanation, the motions that we're going to read, they have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders, and that's done just to expedite the process and keep the meeting moving. And secondly, on voting, members shall physically raise their hand until the mayor, till I have confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk, but in that case, this is not considered a recorded vote. Okay. So we'll move on to our first item of business, which is a presentation from Chris Loreto, Managing Principal, and Olivia Lahaie, Senior Consultant of StrategyCorp, relating to our new draft strategic plan framework. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will, so Your Worship, we're here to present the updated draft for approval of the township's refreshed strategic plan. Subsequent to our last time with council, which I believe was September 11th, the draft of the plan went out for public comment. There wasn't much in the way of public comment received. What I would note for members of council is that there are two minor adjustments, plus the addition of the letter, cover letter, Your Worship, authored by you, which is in the plan to draw council's attention to. One is we have come up with a title for the plan. So the plan is titled preserve, strengthen, deliver the Township of Muskoka Lakes Strategic Plan 2024 to 2028. And the one other addition that I would note is for council on under the strategic goal number 2, which is to protect the township's water quality, forests, and natural spaces through township operations and coordination with key players. We have added an initiative around having the municipality set out a specific GHG reduction target for municipal operations to round out that particular goal. And so that would involve some work, obviously, baselining your current emissions levels and then setting a realistic target over time to reduce the GHG emissions of municipal operations. Otherwise, your worship, the document is substantially the same as was presented to council on September 11th. If council would like me to kind of do a full walkthrough, happy to, but I figured since council's had some time with the document, there haven't been many changes. Maybe it would be most advantageous to use this time to answer any questions that councilors may have.
Thank you for that. Turning it to council, let's follow that lead. Does anyone have any questions at this point in time? Where I think we're going to have a presentation from the CAO shortly. We may have questions that come from that. I don't see any, so maybe we'll invite CAO Pink to the podium, please.
Good afternoon, council. Just very briefly to reiterate what the delegation noted, council did consider a draft framework at their September meeting and directed that some further public input be sought. As we heard, there were no applicable comments received, and the consultants have produced, a final draft strategic plan for your review and consideration. I stand available for questions.
Thank you, CAO Pink. Anyone have any questions? I'm seeing none, so I'm going to read a resolution and then we can come back if we have any comments after that. Moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that this draft strategic plan attached as Appendix 1 to report CAO-2024-003 be approved. Any comments, questions? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, StrategyCorp. Appreciate your input on this. It's been a great ride. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All the best to council. Take care.
So we're moving into. Okay, we're going to move to the consent agenda items. We're reprinting something to pull so that Councilor Nishikawa can step out when that one issue comes up. And we'll just be a second.
Your worship, just quickly, I will have to leave somewhere around between 3 and 3:15 today.
You don't think we'll be done by then? Okay, thank you for the notice. Yep. All right, we're getting the right noise. So this is the one.
This is the one that
without
every.
Okay. So we're going to start with a consent agenda that removes one item, moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact the following minutes and recommendations contained in the October 16, 2024 consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. Number 1, September 11, 2024 General Finance Committee action items 1 through 3 and 5 through 6. Number 2, September 11, 2024 council minutes. Number 3, September 12, 2024 planning committee minutes and action items 1 through 5. And number 4, September 23, 2024 special general and finance committee minutes. Any questions on that? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. And now, this is the one that is going to exclude Councillor Nishikawa. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact the following minutes and recommendation contained in the October 16, 2024 consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. Number one, September 11, 2024 General Finance Committee minutes and action item 4. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move from stuff we do every month to stuff I don't think we've ever done before. We are going to be actually convening as a, I don't say court, but an appellate body, listening to 2 matters that are going to be delivered in the initial stage from Officer Miners. I think yesterday, most of us, I think all of us probably got some sort of a orientation online to help guide. I also have a bit of a presentation to help me with the verbiage. We can go to this after, but just bear in mind that what we're going to hear is in the same vein as any kind of a hearing. We're going to hear a story, a presentation from Officer Miners. We're going to be inviting the parties on the other side to make a presentation if they wish to speak up on their own behalf. And then we're going to kind of convene a discussion around what do we do with this information. The appeal has been filed. We have the ability to either confirm the original order, modify the original order, or rescind the original order. So it's pretty much within our hands how we're going to go forward with this. The order that we're talking about is basically a stop work order or an order to remedy. I think you're going to do the whole presentation, so we're going to likely see the same material that we saw in the along with the agenda items. So everybody's had a chance to look at it, and we have taken all steps necessary to publish the order in accordance with the procedural bylaw of the Township of Muskoka Lake. So we've taken the necessary steps to move this into a public venue where we will be listening and determining the outcome of this appeal. I will mention right now, just so that we know, in attendance, we have on this first one, is this the first one? It is. We have our bylaw enforcement officer, Rachel Miners. And I think for the appellant, we have Howard Garcia or someone on his behalf. Mr. Garcia will be speaking. I'm going to invite Rachel Miners first to come up and walk us through, if you would, please. Welcome.
It's green. Is that okay? It was green? Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Good afternoon. So I'm just going to walk you guys through some background information in my investigation on the subject property, which is 1110 Clearwater Shores Boulevard. It is situated on Henshaw Lake. It's designated waterfront in the official plan. It's zoned waterfront residential with the -7 suffix through the zoning bylaw because of its location on a narrow water body and property with wildlife habitat significance. It also fronts onto type 1 fish habitat lake bed, and it contains approximately 230 feet of property depth. I will note that I was actually on this property around the same time last year, so on August 3rd, 2023. I attended the property to investigate a daytime fire. During this investigation, I observed the property owners undertaking alterations to the lake bed, and I did report it to the Ministry of Natural Resources. I don't know if you can... Yeah, sure, if you can get those pictures up, maybe that would be helpful. So at this time, I did talk to Howard, and I advised him of our tree conservation bylaw and the site alteration bylaw, and I gave him our physical educational pamphlets and my contact information. I didn't observe any like significant erosion occurring on site at this time. Yeah, so that just shows some of like the dredging and in-water vegetation that the property owners were taking out at that time. And then Lauren, I think if you go to the first picture, that shows the property conditions in 2023. So we'll just kind of keep that in mind. So flash forward to August 2nd of this year, I was on proactive patrol and I noticed that there was additional contraventions of the site alteration bylaw occurring at the property. No site alteration permits have been issued. I attended the property, took some photos, which I think Lauren's going to get up in a second. Later that day, I spoke to the property owners on the telephone. I let them know about the bylaw contraventions and I provided a verbal stop work order. They later appealed the order that oh, sorry, I'm going to back that up. So during my site inspection, I did find that there was a multi-tiered retaining wall being installed within 50 feet of the water's edge, and then in areas between 50 to 300 feet of the water's edge without a permit. And this was located beyond the like additional 15 feet that you're allowed from their approved building and septic permit. It was outside that. So the retaining wall involved the excavation of the existing grade, the placing of armor stone, gravel, and soil, which increased the elevation of existing grades. There was erosion and sediment runoff occurring, and there was no sediment fence installed along the water's edge. The owner did advise for the reasons for installing the retaining wall, and it was to accommodate a sport court, to prevent erosion, and to prevent negative impacts resulting from a previous sewage disposal system failure. I did advise them on site that a sport court would not be permitted in the proposed area because it doesn't comply with the minimum front yard setback of 200 feet. And then as well as the building permit issued for the building and the septic system didn't include or require the installation of the retaining wall. So in my opinion, the following sections of the bylaw that was contravened was site alteration within 50 feet of the water, site alteration without the permit, site alteration resulting in erosion, no sediment fence, and then permitting site alteration before an approval has been issued. So with these contraventions in mind, I did issue a stop work order in order to remedy. And I gave this to them through email and registered mail. And it just requires the owners to remediate the property to its like pre-existing condition and to complete that work by next year. I will say that I did make a spelling error on the order. So I'm just recommending that we approve or confirm the order, but just make a correction for that second deadline. Instead of it saying June 30th, 2024, it should say June 30th, 2025, obviously to give them opportunity to fix the property by next year instead of going back in time. So yeah, I think that's where we're at right now. We did issue them a couple of monetary penalties for some of the infractions, but not all of them. And then the property owners are wanting to appeal the order because I guess, yeah, they don't agree with it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, stay right there for 1 second because I'm going to invite council to ask you any questions if they have any. At this point, we'll have another opportunity to ask questions after we hear from the other side. The appellant. No questions? Anyone online? I don't see. No, nobody. Okay, thank you very much, Officer Miners. That was good. Great, well done. All right, next up, we're going to call on Mr. Garcia. Are you going to? Oh, sure. You can come up. When you get there, if you could please introduce yourselves and give us an address so that we know how to get a hold of you if we need to.
My name is Lisa Itzi. I'm Howard Garcia's wife.
Thank you.
Howard Garcia.
And your address is
1110 Clearwater Shores, Port Carlin. Well, we live in Toronto, 9 Meadow Lane Avenue.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, you have an opportunity at this point in time to tell us why you're bringing an appeal of this, of these orders.
Okay, so first I'd like to begin. We did try to call in the town to, well, our designer here. He called in. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I've never done this before.
Oh, nervous.
So we did try to call in and we did get wrong information. We did have open permits for our septic and for building our home, our cottage home. So there would be no reason for us not to comply with the township. So this was totally a misunderstanding. Rachel did come to our property in August of 2023 that she witnessed a fire, which we had a burning permit for. So that day, an event happened with that. I have photos that I'd like to show as well for the lake that I wasn't able to, we weren't really ready to prepare.
Can we see it on Rachel's pictures? Because they have to
Oh,
be,
these-
we have to have them delivered up electronically so we can look
We
at
have
them.
photos of the lake, how do you want to explain it? Could you explain it?
Today, like, it has to be maintained. We're at the end of the lake, there's garbage floating, this was today. And when she came by last year, she caught us in the middle of cleaning the debris we haven't been there like for 4 years. The house got condemned as there was a flood 4 years prior, and that's what she came across. And then the one with the, like,
Oh, you have to speak into the microphone so the people
Sorry.
calling in can hear you.
so these are pictures that show that today, as there's debris coming in every day from the lake. We're at the end of the lake. And for last year when she came by, we were in the midst of cleaning it up. As we weren't there for 4 years, as it's been abandoned for 4 years since we had a flood in the house and we were going through insurance. And also that day, she was questioning us that we had bubblers in the lake. So we put bubblers in that week for the lake. And we explained to her, the neighbors have them.
They had them on that day as well.
They have them on that day as well.
She witnessed them,
She witnessed them. We even have pictures.
that they have them on all the time.
But I'm not sure the neighbors are under the,
Oh, absolutely. But
Scope here.
what I'm just trying to say, we're just getting picked on over here. And that's why we don't believe the tickets are.
Stop work order was necessary.
We're willing to do everything the township asks in this case to remedy whatever going on. I hired an engineer. I got, what's the lady called there? A planner, like for the plants and stuff. We're willing to do everything, but it just seems like somebody went out of their way to give me a ticket last time. And I actually we called in, and lucky the guy, his name was Cliff, the bylaw, M&R officer. And he found it really strange that I got this ticket.
He canceled it.
Cause
after.
they canceled it, considering I worked with them. I had no problem working with anybody. And we didn't have enough time to bring our presentation up to you, because
Everything has been really confusing process since we really want to comply. We were given 3 tickets of $6,000. So which we feel was pretty harsh. When Rachel did say she gave us pamphlets the year before, we don't remember if she did, but we would probably prefer to get them while we were doing the work, so we understand what we have to do. So we wanted to ask for this stop work order.
Another
for
thing
us
is
to
the whole
continue.
reason for these walls are for the septic tank. And we got, initially, we didn't want to do the septic tank. We had to do it because the township asked for it. We had to take down a garage storage unit, or there's no other place to put the septic tank. It's on a bedrock off the cliff it's like a hill. So you have to backfill it, and there's no other way. And that's what my engineer is doing now, to figure out if there's another way to please the township. But otherwise, there's no other way to do it, but a retaining wall.
And the septic tank, it was passed by Sandy Boss,
The septic system.
the
was
septic
passed.
system. And those retaining walls were up when he came.
was, okay. Okay. Unless you have more, I have a couple questions that I wouldn't mind
Sure.
asking. I understand you're concerned about the $6,000 fines times, I forget how many you said tickets, 2 or 3? 3. But I haven't heard you dispute that there was that these things were actually going on at the time. At the time, and I heard, and I'm unfortunately not a very good, there was site alteration causing erosion because there was no erosion fence. There was a site alteration without a permit. There was a permitting issue relating to, for what the last one was. There was dredging on the lake bed. So you're not disputing that that took place. You're just saying, and you're, I think, also saying you're happy or willing to put it back the way it was.
But we weren't alternating the land. That's the issue. Like, so where we put the rocks, we're at the bottom of the hill. So we didn't excavate any. The only excavation was going on there was where we had to put the septic tank. We had to excavate that, and there was dirt put to the side so it could be put back together. The other issue is, she states that there's no erosion, and there's I got clear pictures here that the part where we haven't touched, if there's erosion going on, you can see all the roots of the trees. And our plan was actually to fill it and put soil there and block it from heading down to the lake again. But you could see in the photos, if you like, clear pictures.
Unfortunately, we can't share photos because we've got two members who are not here. So, okay, does anyone else on council have any questions? Councilor Nishikawa.
I'm sorry, through you to, I almost want to have the building department here.
Yeah.
Sorry. The, was a permit taken out for the retaining walls? And I also have a little bit of, I'm lacking the understanding of where, in fact, exactly the septic is amongst all of the retaining walls. I'm guessing, but I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Officer Miners if you could enlighten us on those issues.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so they did get a building permit to fix their main dwelling, and then they had a septic permit for the septic system, which are all pretty related and set back from the lake, but the retaining wall itself is located beyond the approved envelope for the septic system. So the site alteration bylaw provides you to do site alteration within that septic permit, and then an additional 15 feet from the outer edge of that septic. And these retaining walls are beyond that 15 feet.
So
Councilor Nishikawa.
a little bit further, so it's kind of too, I'm actually putting myself on the job site. I'm just saying, and it from the pictures, I can picture the 15 feet from the building that, so there's alterations allowed under the building code, 15 feet from the building. But it looks like there's two separate issues. So there's a bit of a retaining wall around the building, but there's a retaining wall for the septic, and I don't, in my experience, I would have had to apply for an additional permit for the retaining walls. That's why I'm getting there, and it's too, and respectfully, I almost think somebody from the building department would be clearer to, because there is always exceptions, and I'm just not sure that we're hearing them.
Can you add to that, Officer Miners? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so like the septic permit didn't include any requirements for these retaining walls. If the septic system was required to have retaining walls for structural or whatever other needs, it would be included in the permit, but these retaining walls were not a part of the septic permit, and it fell beyond the scope of the septic system permit.
Councilor Zavitz.
Thank you. It's for you. So we did hear, I believe in the report that, so Sandy Boss was there as a representative of us and viewed the final construction of the septic with at least the wall or parts of the rock wall intact. How does that sit with the township? And I guess through the CAO. Thank you.
Thank you, through your worship.
I'm personally not familiar with the details of this application. I think I would refer to the bylaw enforcement officers to provide that background of the specifics of the state of the site when Mr. Boss viewed it. I don't want to speak out of turn with respect not knowing the septic permit that was issued or the process, so I do refer to staff.
Officer Miners?
Yeah, so I believe when Sandy Boss was there, the retaining walls were also there, but with Sandy, or if it was Matt who was inspecting the septic system, they're there to look at any provisions that are related to the approved septic system and the Ontario Building Code. That's why they're there and that's what they're approving. If there's other work going on at the property that goes beyond those permits, they're not necessarily looking at that portion of it. They're just looking at the septic system and the requirements of the permit, which the retaining walls were not a requirement of the permit.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, maybe to clarify a little bit, think of a situation where the building inspector is going to a property and they are inspecting the building. They aren't inspecting the use inside of said building. So, we have numerous properties where people will build, say an accessory building or a garage, say it's for storage only, and then 2 months later, bylaws getting a call because it isn't storage, but it's been turned into habitable space, or they've turned it into a second dwelling. It becomes an enforcement issue. So think of this situation relatively similar to what that is, where the septic inspector is going, they are taking a look at anything in regards to the Ontario Building Code as per the septic system, but they aren't doing any inspections on anything outside of that said septic system. So anytime there's something that goes above and beyond, that's where bylaw enforcement gets involved under the enforcement matters.
Councilor Zavitz.
Through you, so does that mean that the township gave them a final on the septic?
Mr. Kennedy, do you know that, or Officer Miners?
Through the chair, just give me 1 sec.
So if I might, it would seem, I think to Councilor Nishikawa's point earlier, it would really make sense to have the building department part of this. I mean, we're hearing from our good bylaw people, but the people that actually made these decisions, in fact, we're front facing on this one, aren't even here representing, I suppose, us.
Mr. Garcia, I'm going to give you just a second. I want to find out if we can determine when.
So it's not final yet then?
All right, while we're looking for that, Mr. Garcia, you want to say something?
So he did pass it he did pass it, but he was have to do the grading on the driveway.
Yep.
But that's gonna consist of me putting another wall so the grading doesn't get flown down to the weeping bed. And I don't want to be doing that right now, as I don't want to be contradicting her. And I would just like to add, like, my property, it's kind of unique because it's off the cliff, and that wall has to be held up by another wall to the bottom. And I haven't exceeded any 3 feet level. I didn't add anything. I just graded it. Like I said, I'm getting an engineer. If he could find another solution, I'll be more than glad to. But I just don't think it's fair.
Kennedy, do you have something?
Through the chair, back to the septic permit, based on our system that I'm looking at right now, the septic permit hasn't been finalized yet. It's still showing as status is issued.
Thank you. All right, are there any more questions for either the bylaw enforcement team or the appellants? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. In addition to having building here, I think a site plan would be quite helpful because I can't picture where these items are. I can see the picture, but I don't feel like the information is complete for me to be able to understand it.
All right, unless anyone wants to comment on that issue. Yeah, go ahead, Officer Miners.
Would it be helpful if we just put up the picture again of the current state of the property and we can kind of explain the retaining walls in relation to the septic system? Because the pictures are in the report.
No, I saw. It's really the location of the septic, the wall, the bay.
Mhm.
I was trying to
Let
visualize it all.
let me ask you a question. If those things were clear in your head where they were, but they were still issued without a permit, would that change anything? Or they were built without a permit? Understood. Yes, ma'am.
Yet again, that we did try to call and ask, and we were misinformed. I guess maybe we must have called the wrong department, but we did get the green light to go ahead. And there'd be no reason for us to go ahead and do this work without permits, as we had open permits already. This wasn't intentional at all. And
Understood.
we're willing to work with the township to rectify it.
Okay, Councilor Nishikawa and then Councilor Edwards.
Thank you. I guess I want to pick this apart a little bit. We're only talking about the retaining walls at this point, but if I was to discuss what's ever going on down at the shore, quite honestly, that looks like the same stuff that I rake up on the shores often. So I'm just trying to see what we can eliminate from a conversation at this point. I'm not expecting them to do anything more at the shore. It is a reality that many, many people rake all of that mess that comes up. So I don't feel that that's where I want to go at this point. Just going from there, sorry.
All right, no, that's fair. And it's a fair comment. If you have a question, I think it's more appropriate right now that we ask questions. It's more in the line of deliberations when we get to that stage. Did you have a comment on that comment?
Through the chair, I think one thing to be cognizant of is the orders are specific to the site alteration bylaw and quite frankly, specific to the retaining walls. There really is nothing in our orders that say anything in regards to the removal of the vegetation in the water. That's an M&R jurisdictional area. So that is outside of what we can enforce and not something that we are appealing or discussing today.
Councilor Edwards.
Thank you very much. To Mr. Garcia, who did the work? Did you do the work yourself?
Well, me and my friend over here.
Okay, so your contractors or
Well, yeah, I was before, just.
was before? Okay, because there was no sediment fences there.
Well, no defense or anything. I thought the wall would be acting as a sediment fence to block everything. We never excavated the bottom. We put the blocks, we put the felt, and we put the, what do you call it? Stone. So it would filter anything that would go to the bed, to the lake. Otherwise, the hill was always there.
Okay, I'm looking, maybe, miscellaneous, on page 77, if you can bring that up. And then page 67 of our agenda. If we could see them, because I'm just trying to see what was done from page 67 on our agenda, which was the original, I believe.
Sorry, through the chair, are you looking for the original photo and then the after photo, if
Yeah,
you will?
that's right,
Okay.
yeah, and it's on our agenda, it's page 67, I believe.
Okay, we'll just pull that up.
So that is the original? No, go back, that's, well, you had it right there.
And you could see the streams coming down from the debris, from the water coming down
Okay,
that's last year.
now we can go to page 77. Is that,
Well, that's
that's it,
because the skid steer is driving up and down.
up and down,
Yeah.
so you're driving between the lake and the stone there, there's excavation there.
No, there's no
No,
excavation.
well, you've done something because you can see it's
No,
been
that's
disturbed.
that just tracks.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
It's
Maybe
tracks, but
misunderstand.
that's why you have to put a sediment fence up because of that washing
I
down.
understand, but just, so
That's right.
there's always, that hill's always there. If we were using that house in the 4 years, but we weren't there, like people walking and everything, that would all do the same thing too.
Okay.
It's just the house been abandoned for 4 years. That's why it hasn't, but otherwise that's our steps going up to the house. We usually walk, that'd be a walking path. You could, I have the picture of the erosion now. This was taken today, and this is, I haven't been excavating. We never run no machines there, and you can see all the roots, that the water just washes it down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to invite you to make a last statement, a closing statement. I'm going to ask, I think, Ms. Miners to, are you first? I can't remember how this works. Mr. Garcia, and then I'm going to have one comment before we go into the deliberation stage.
There's also one more thing in the stop work order is with the driveway there. I just want to clarify that. If you see there's a driveway that we're asked to be removed, and it's been there since the 1940s. They used to use it for logging in and out, and she was asking us to take it out and redo it. Been there forever.
So to the four matters that are currently on the docket, I think it's 4, isn't it? I think you read 4. I can't remember, but if I heard you correctly, you don't deny that you built the walls. You don't deny that you did the work on the site. You thought trying to protect the septic system by building a stone wall. We don't have to get into kind of guiltiness or how bad this feels. We just have to understand that our goal is to protect the environment, to protect the waterfront. It's the most sensitive part of our world. And I think in the circumstances where you have been given 10 months, whatever it is, 9 months to remedy, is it 2025, which is the close on the remediation, June of next year. I haven't heard you dispute that that's not enough time. At least I don't think I have. The only issue that I've really heard back is this idea that the fines are too much. And I want to separate that from the rest of the order is what I'm trying to understand. I haven't heard you raise objections to anything that Officer Miners wrote down on the ticket, other than the numbers, the price.
Because we did try to call, we want to comply, like instead of giving us a chance to fix it, we were just given a stop work order and these tickets.
The good news is you want to fix it.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So the issue really is just down to what happens with the fine, if I'm not mistaken.
First time, $6,000. Like, we're willing to comply. That wasn't our intention at all.
Okay.
You know, we were seeking for, like, you know, we got an engineer to understand like what we thought so we really want to comply. And then we're given all these tickets and the stop work order, and it was just everything just kind of.
We want this on record that we feel like we're being discriminated. We feel like we're getting targeted for some reason. And we want that on record.
Fair enough. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you, I guess for optics, what does it mean to remediate? What is it? What do they mean? What do these fine folks mean when they say we want to make it right? I mean,
so
separate that from the fines.
We want to know what's the proper way to insulate the tank and hold it up from the off the bedrock. So there's nothing happening later on in the future. Just do the job right. And we're getting the drawings done. We're doing the engineer drawing. This is costing us a lot of money. Like, and I just didn't feel like these tickets were necessary.
Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, through you. So does that means that you will be, you were suggesting you would actually remove all the rock if should it be another?
Yes, if it has to, it has to. I got we're not fighting the township. We like whatever it takes.
Okay, thank you.
Told it from the beginning, but we were misled in thinking that we were allowed to build a sports court,
Oh, that
which
was, we mentioned a bocce court and she said, oh, go for a sports court. You can't even go for a sports court. That's not permitted. Are those, we didn't even know a sports court existed.
honestly, we play sports in front of our lake. Does that mean we got to get a permit for a sports court? I don't know.
Yes.
We do if you play.
Yes.
Yes.
Need a permit.
Oh.
Okay, I think we've heard a good final from Mr. Garcia. Officer Miners, do you have any you want to add to this? Or Mr. Kennedy?
Through the chair, I think the only thing that we would say as a closing comment is staff is recommending that council confirm the order as written. We believe that the evidence based on the photos and what was found during Officer Miner's inspection constitutes the contraventions listed on the stop work order / order to remedy. And again, therefore, we would like to see that the order be confirmed by council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Zavitz, you have?
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, what a tough spot. I guess that's why these don't come here very often. I think what's interesting here is a willingness by the people to, you know, work with the township. As in we sit in these chairs, we certainly want to support staff. So somewhere in that middle ground, it would certainly be my recommendation if you're asking that we would give them a time and to see the whites of their eyes, if you will, to see what they really do plan to remediate, because they surely are standing here saying they do, and not request the payment of the fines until such time as they can prove that all the work is done. Thank you.
On that vein, is your engineer putting together a plan to remedy this? The
As
whole
we
thing?
speak last Tuesday,
Okay.
we spoke, and instead of having a meeting, we decided to get an engineer. And
Okay,
he's in the middle of it. And I got the designer, paid the design, not the architect, the guy who does the drawings for the land. So we would like to show the council exactly how it was and what we were proposing and what we did. So
Why?
to show not that we didn't exceed any, like alternate any land, really, you know, that's what we wanted more time to do.
it's more than just altering the land, though. It's about building without permits. It's
Okay.
about building too close to the zone. So as long as my fear, and it kind of picks up on what Councillor Zavitz said 2 comments ago, is that I've heard you say you want to remediate, you want to fix the problem. But I want to make sure we all understand what that means. And what that means is no more walls unless you come and get a permit, no more this unless you get this permitted.
Or unless there, like, if there's any other way we could retain the septic wall, we're more than willing to do it.
But even if there isn't any other way,
Oh, but then how am I supposed to keep my septic tank?
I don't know. That's.
The house has been there since earlier on. Are you suggesting that I can't have a septic tank? Or I don't know,
I don't either. I don't know.
We get another.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't they have gotten septic approval on a certain plan?
Well,
Which
from
would have
what,
dealt with the fact that if there was something required to support it, would have been in there. So I sort of,
you ready to go?
and that's still outstanding.
CAO Pink.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple points that may clarify. Certainly, I believe it's within council's prerogative should you wish to defer. Director Huff did check. Unfortunately, building staff, we were not anticipating these questions. Unfortunately, they're not available, but we can certainly make sure staff are present that can speak to the septic permit the following month, should you wish to defer. But I also wanted to clarify, there appears to be some confusion, perhaps with the appellants and council, between the distinction between this appeal process and an order to remedy and the AMPs or the fines under said process. What is before you is just either to confirm or rescind the order to remedy. You've heard from staff, there's, in their opinion, a clear contravention of the site alteration bylaw. They've issued an order to remedy, and the appellants have the right to appeal that, and that's what's in front of you. It appears, though, they take more exception with the fines under AMPs. They've also, and Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Miners can correct me if I have any of these details wrong, but my understanding is they have appealed that AMPs. It's undergone the screening review. Those $6,000 in fines have been confirmed by the screening officers, but it is now going to a hearing review. That's the last step. and the appellants can argue their case regarding the fines through that court process. That's not in front of council, just to be clear with respect to the penalties. What's before you is a consideration of the ordered remedy and whether that's an appropriate recourse for the work that you see in those pictures. Should you need more time, more information, what I've heard is a site plan is needed and building staff to speak to the septic permit. Staff will ensure that we can bring those matters to you in November. I don't believe, look to Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Miners, but I don't think there's any harm to deferring for one month this process, because I don't think any work is going to happen over the winter anyway. So I hope that helps clarify with some options.
Thank you. Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, and through to your worship. It seems to me, I completely agree that we should pass this resolution. The facts on the ground are confirmed by the pictures in my mind, but this is just the first step. And I really have a question. Could order to remedy include an application or a site plan agreement or something that allows and perhaps even endorses that stone wall that has been put in there? And if that's part of the remedy, then the appellant has lots of options ahead of them. They just need to get the right advice from people who will ensure that our shorelines are being protected and their nature is being protected. But there has been site alteration unquestionably on that site, and it was done without a permit. So I would support that we move ahead, but let's just explore a little more what the options are for the appellants so that their anxiety level can possibly come down.
Thank you for that. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, just a question to Ms. Miners. On that original, when you were there on page 67, where there's no work been done, you were there for the fire, was that it? And then all this work has gone on since then? Okay. And were there any warning at that time, or did you know they were going to do this work?
Officer Miners.
Yeah, so when I was there previous in the past, I did give them education. So if they were planning to do any work, I gave them the information, like copies of our bylaws, so that they knew what to comply with. I wasn't given any indication that this work was going to occur at my site visit last year.
But you did give them information on when they were, all I need to know, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We weren't doing work at that time, so nothing, we didn't need any pamphlets, and we don't even recall any pamphlets that she's saying that she gave us. Wouldn't the byline work, the pamphlets be given while we're doing work to educate us on what we were doing?
Certainly would have been had you applied for a
When we're
permit.
not doing it?
Certainly you would have received the information you needed had you applied for a
permit, right?
Yeah,
We
right.
would have got one, if we knew that.
Right. And I think that was the attempt that Officer Miners was making, to leave you a pamphlet saying, if you're going to do any of this stuff, you got to come get a permit.
Okay.
Councilor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Through you. It's interesting because anytime a piece of heavy equipment comes onto my property, it's usually because I have a permit, because I'm moving something big. So in general, in Muskoka Lakes, you need a permit for almost everything around your property. And that's been known by many, many, many property owners for as long as I've been a counselor. So I don't want this to be a conversation about of how people don't know how to find out if they need a permit or not. Just go online. It's very, very clear.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Mazan.
Question, just following on CAO Pink's recommendation. It seems like there's some further information that would be helpful for those who might be wanting to see this entire package. That said, in the stop work order, it does say that the remediation plan by a qualified engineer and environmental professional had to be done by October 31st. So I just want to make sure of this year. So I just want to make sure if we were to contemplate deferring until next month, if that has any impact. I guess that's per
Well,
staff.
we'd have to, if we defer, we're going to have to deal with that issue. Yeah. Okay. All right, Counselor Kent.
I do think the one point you made, which was very helpful, is that the fees are one issue and one judicial process. The decision today is, do they remediate and fix the problem? And it's obvious that they're gonna have to remediate and fix the problem. They can do that working with council to come up with some other plan that might be acceptable to planning. But I'm not 100% convinced now that I've had that clarified that we need to delay a month.
Just to follow up on Counselor Mazan's comment, you've got your remediation plan is underway, you've got an engineer on it, and you have a deadline of October 31. It'll be met?
We don't know if it's gonna be met, but they're on it. It's not up to us. They're doing their job, right? They're doing their job. We hired them, we gave them a deposit to hire them, and then they're doing their job. It might be done. We were hoping it was done for today so we could show you guys, but I can't guarantee it'll be done by that date.
Have you taken any steps to get that extended? I don't even know if you can.
Honestly, we would have.
Hoping that it gets done isn't much of a strategy. We've got to get it done. We've got to get this moved forward.
The ones drawing it, the engineer. So. Hey,
Okay.
I can give you the phone number. of the
Kennedy?
engineer.
Through the chair, typically we work, like we always try to work with residents and people that we're involved with in enforcement matters. So so long as we know that the report is ongoing, yeah, we have a deadline of October 31st, but if it, for whatever reason comes on November 6th, it's not like we're holding it against the owners on that. We know it's in the process of being worked on. I will caution though that staff doesn't automatically have to accept said engineer's report. And we do have the ability to go out for a peer review of the report, which could again further delay things to be remedied on this site. But I think as CEO Pink has correctly noted, I don't believe there's going to be any remediation works that are going to be done in the middle of the winter time. So we do have, those winter months to hopefully be able to resolve everything. And, come springtime, that's when the remediation would most likely start. But like I said, we try to work with residents. I know there's been some challenges back and forth over the last couple of months. But it sounds like the owners are on the right track to get everything done. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Zavitz.
Thank you, through you. So in conclusion on the report, it says that staff recommends to council that the order be modified to amend the deadline for a year. Right, and that's really what if that's what we're contemplating, and it also says that we cannot add anything to the order, but I guess we could choose to rescind the order, option number 2. So in this regard, we already have heard about the AMP. So the fines are the fines. We don't have anything to say about the fines. So I'm wondering to staff to prolong this for a year. What are these folks gonna come back to show us or show the department that is gonna make us satisfied? It doesn't come
I
back to
think there's a
us.
different interpretation of the 1 year. Officer Miners.
Yeah, we're just asking that the order be modified because I made a spelling error on it. So the first deadline is October 31st of this year to have them submit plans to us. But I accidentally wrote June 30th, 2024 to remediate the plans. So I'm just asking that we fix that to say 2025 so that they have until June 2025 to fix the property.
Counselor Zavitz.
Well, thank you, through you. So yeah, it almost begs the question, why is this even in front of us? Because quite honestly, if all we have to contemplate is the notion that we can't add any conditions at all. We can only sort of say, essentially, let's give them, just acknowledge the mistake and carry on. We're not giving them any relief. I'll use that word at all.
The reason it's in front of us is because the order has been appealed. Not by us.
Oh, no, sorry, I understand that through you. But in fact, we are being asked by staff to simply conclude that we modify the paperwork to 2025. We're not being asked to have them to come back with a different rock wall or a different
Oh.
application for the septic.
You're right.
But here we are adding, I'm saying we can't, according to this, we can't add conditions to this order. And that, is that not adding a condition by saying, come back with a whole different?
No, the order was to remediate, to remedy the problem. And in addition, before that starts, to get a remediation plan, I think you called it. And that's what it's all about. We're not adding, subtracting. We're just trying to uphold what was originally written down in the original order. Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am asking if you could read the question and that we vote on it, because it is just a date. At this point, we're approving the date change as Rachel had brought it up.
No,
Well, I
actually
mean, but I'm just
dismissing
saying,
an appeal.
right.
Okay. Just want to make sure you knew that.
I know I did, but it's just that we don't need to get into all of the other stuff I was going to get into.
I can read it. Ready to read it? Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that site alteration, stop work order, and order to remedy OTR 2024-12 be confirmed, and item 2.4 be modified by council to amend the deadline from June 30, 2024 to June 30, 2025. Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm willing to support this resolution as it is. It's quite straightforward. I just have one question that wasn't quite answered when I asked it last time, so I'll make it very clear. As part of a remediation plan, could a solution be that they come back with the proper site plan alteration application, which might include keeping the stone wall in place, assuming it's been done properly? That is a question, and again, I think that's just an expanding the understanding of what the appellants have as options.
Who wants to answer that? Oh, two hands up. Go ahead, Officer Miners, go.
Yeah, so through the order to remedy process, they can ask for the retaining walls to stay, and then we can review that and decide that through the order to remedy. Otherwise, they could, I guess, submit an application for a site alteration permit and ask for it. I just can't make any guarantees that staff would support it.
Of course.
Otherwise, they do have an option to submit for a minor variance for relief of a sport court and ask for retaining walls through that process, all of which have been explained to the property owners.
If I could have a supplemental on that. So given that there are a number of options ahead for the owners, and that this resolution is quite straightforward, I think we should just move ahead and approve it. That's what I would suggest.
Thank you for that. Does anyone else have any comments on the resolution as read? All right, I'm seeing none, then I'll call a question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have another similar matter. I got the wrong page in front of me. Where are we here? Sorry. There we go. Thank you. Okay, in attendance once again for the township is our municipal law enforcement officer, Rachel Miners. And we also have Rui Amarel, I believe is speaking on behalf of the appellant. Same procedure. We're going to start with Officer Miners, if you would please, with your report of the evidence or report of the infraction.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, similar situation as previous. The subject property here is located at 1112 Clearwater Shores Boulevard, zone waterfront residential. Again, on type 1 fish habitat lake bed, and it contains 100 feet of frontage on Henshaw Lake. So I was at the property on September 5th, 2023, so last fall. I was there to investigate a complaint that we received about illegal tree removal. Although I didn't observe any illegal tree removal, I did take photographs of the property's existing conditions, which we'll see if Lauren can get those up. There was no stone patio on the property at this time. I'm going to explain it a little bit because I know it's hard to see, but the retaining wall that's behind the tree there, that's like a stone patio that's more so attached to the house. And then you'll see existing vegetation and grass underneath. So there's no stone patio there at that time. Again, at that time, I did talk to the owner on the phone, advise of the unfounded complaint, and then provided some education on the tree conservation bylaw and site alteration bylaw. So flash forward to this year on August 2nd, 2024, I did attend the property as I observed contraventions of the site alteration bylaw. I took photos there. That is the new patio that's been installed. So that's just below the tree and that other retaining wall. I did take measurements of the patio. It's approximately 24 feet in width, 34 feet in length. It is 3 feet, 7 inches in height. So the approximate size of the patio is 816 square feet. This does not comply with the site alteration bylaws, maximum permitted elevation change, which is 3 feet. So it was 3 feet and 7 inches. The maximum permitted size of a stone patio for this property is 200 square feet. So with the patio being 816 square feet in size, it does exceed that maximum size, so it would not be permitted. So we did issue a stop work order to remedy, requiring that the owner bring the property into compliance with the site alteration bylaw. We did issue an administrative monetary penalty for one of the offenses, which is the patio exceeding the maximum size. There was no AMP issued for the height exceeding the maximum limit. So yeah, with this one, it's similar deadlines. We are requiring that a remediation plan be sent to us October 31st of this year, and that the work be completed June 30th of 2025. So at this time, staff is just requesting to council that the order be confirmed in its format right now.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have questions? Well, Officer Miners is at the mic. Councilor Edwards.
Thank you. Do I understand you right? The stone wall was around, but there was no patio at that time?
That's correct.
And what did you tell him at that time?
I just gave him education on the tree and site bylaws because I was there for a tree cutting complaint. We didn't find any contraventions with the tree bylaw, but I still gave him some education of, hey, we do have a tree conservation bylaw and site alteration bylaw in the township to be aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Nishikawa, I think you were first, and then Councilor Zavitz.
Thank you. Just quickly through you to Rachel, along with, so I understand it's hard to teach people about hardscaping and its detriment to our shores and things. But what I wondered about, just because of some of the pictures, did you have any concerns, or was that ever brought forward about the shoreline?
Sorry, what do you mean exactly?
It just looked like a lot of grass. And so that, if not, then that's, I guess you answered.
Yeah, I think the concern here is that the site alteration bylaw provides a specific maximum size for a patio, which is 200 square feet. And it's exceeding 800 square feet, which is a pretty significant difference in my opinion. So I think that's our,
So the retaining
Concern.
walls where the other property had the concern about the retaining walls aren't part of the concern. It's just about the patio itself, the size of the patio.
for this specific property at 1112 Clearwater Shores and this order, our concern is the size of the patio.
Thank you.
Councillor Zabitz, you were next, and then Councillor Kent.
Yeah, thank you through you to Ms. Minor. So the tree cutting problem, are those cut trees underneath this 800 square foot hardscaped area? Is that what you responded to, a tree cutting complaint? Where are the trees that are cut down? Are that
Yeah,
underneath?
so I got a complaint last year for tree cutting on the property. When I showed up, there was no trees I saw that were cut. I had no problems with the tree cutting. There was no stone patio there at that time, so I called the owner
Odd.
and told them, we got this complaint, it's unfounded, I don't see any tree removal here. It wasn't until this year that I see this new stone patio that's been installed.
Councillor Kent.
Thank you. And for you to Ms. Miners, is the stone wall legal?
The stone wall that's behind this patio,
Yes. There's no
Um,
mention of whether that was properly done, not properly done, approved, had a building permit in here.
so people are permitted to alter grade within 15 feet of a building. I didn't take specific measurements to see if that wall is within 15 feet of the
Wouldn't
building.
they have had to get permission? to
That,
build?
that's not the subject of today's.
Oh, okay, so it must be legal if it's not the subject.
It's
of
not.
today.
Anyone else with other questions? Councillor Nishikawa.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if we should be hearing from the applicant, like we heard from the other people. Is there an opportunity to hear from them? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Amaral, you are welcome to the mic with your comments.
Okay, so a little bit of history. I've had building permits to construct my house since 2016, which they were all closed earlier this year in 2024. I went through a major renovation there where I actually lifted the existing house, extended it, built a full basement, foundation, the whole works. My plan here was to build a fire pit area in the location where you see this patio. At the time, this was done last year, so about a year ago today. My intention was not to build the patio this big. I had no idea that these site alteration bylaws existed. Throughout my entire construction project there, they never came up once. I've never even heard of the term until I received this order. In building this patio at the time, I considered it a landscape, part of landscape work that I was planning to do post all my other construction that happened over the years. The idea here was to build a fire pit area centered in that area away from the trees. It wasn't intended to be that big, but I had existing steps going down. So the plan was to sort of create, the patio became enlarged when we realized we have to create an area to walk to it. In doing so, we also realized that aesthetically, the size that it is today worked aesthetically. So it looked good with everything else that was going on. After becoming aware of these site alteration bylaws through this order, I did a lot of homework and was able to investigate and realize that what I've done was not correct. It was too big. And I have every intention to correct it. My original reason for being here today was to come and ask for extensions in time to get this done. I'm not sure if I was in the right place to do this. I was going to ask for an extension to submit my plans and possibly a little bit of an extension to get the work done. but something just wasn't sitting well with everything. When I started thinking about the work that I had to do to get down there and get this work done. And the reason for me being here today is basically to address the fact that in order to correct this, it's going to require a lot of big machinery getting down there. Given that this was done over a year ago, the site has already been reestablished. The vegetation has regrown. The habitat is there. Animals are running around and whatnot. And it's a very confined space within 50 feet of the water. The patio is located just over 50 feet. So basically what I wanted to do was to bring this awareness to you guys that in order for me to fix this and get down into that area, it's going to tear everything up. And as you said, Mayor, I mean, your goal is to protect the waterfront and the natural habitat. And in me having to go back down there, it's going to tear everything up again because it requires big machinery. So another point I want to make is where the patio sits, where the fire pit sits, I don't plan on moving it from there during my remediation. I don't mind creating a 200 square foot spot there, but I would like to also, from the steps, I'm going to need a 6-foot pathway leading to it, which is allowed in the site alteration bylaws. So the reality is what I'm going to really have to remove from there is not going to be very much if you look at the big picture. So for me to have to bring in all this big machinery down there and start excavating and moving things around and tearing everything up, I would ask that you guys really see if the reward is worth the risk. Having this type of machinery down there, which can break down, leak. The property does slope downhill towards the water. It's very close. So I'm not sure you guys really want to go down this path. And I ask you guys to reconsider.
Okay, thank you for that. Before we go anywhere, I forgot to ask you your address, and I do need that just for the record.
My home address?
Yep, whatever you.
574 Northcliffe Boulevard.
In
Toronto.
Oh, in Toronto. Thank you.
I brought pictures that might show you guys, but like the people before, maybe you guys aren't able to look at them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't.
Yep.
We can't share them electronically. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Amaral at all? None? Nope, not seeing any. All right, does anybody have any questions based on what you've just heard from Mr. Amaral that want to go back to Officer Miners? We can talk to either of them at this point in time. All right, I'm seeing no enthusiasm for more questions. Then I'm going to ask you, Mr. Amaral, do you have any final comments you want to make? And I think you've got a couple of minutes, 2 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes. If you want to use that to petition the council to do anything.
All I'm saying is before you guys, before I'm forced to go down there with heavy machinery to repair all this, the site conditions are not good. There's only a small access to get in there. I'm surrounded by trees. I'm within 50 feet of the water. You know, the risk is high of creating more damage than it's worth at the end of the day. I've been fined $2,000 already. I wish I can go back and do it properly, but I've never had a conversation with Rachel Miners besides on the phone when she was there for a tree issue. That didn't even happen. It's pretty coincidental how she always ends up at our properties. You know, if it's not mine, it's my neighbors with these issues. Somebody on the lake is constantly complaining against us. So there's a personal vendetta, obviously. And here we are today, you know. We try to do things properly, but as homeowners, I only have access. I mean, access. I only know so much. I'm not a contractor when it comes to doing landscaping work.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Comments, questions? Councilor Nishikawa.
Thank you. I'm not sure. Sorry for a comment.
Sure.
I'm struggling because I, in fact, looking and not very hard, can see a number of trees that have been cut down from this property. Their bases are very evident. And so I wouldn't be looking at
Those trees though aren't the subject
No,
of our
my,
discussion
my
today.
point is that there's access down there because that's already been exposed. And so I'm going to just be upholding what is being asked in for us through this bylaw. Thank you.
Fair comment. Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
I agree with Councilor Nishikawa. It could be back to 200 square feet. If they could get all the equipment down there to put it in, they could get it down there to take it out.
Yeah. Anyone else with comments or questions? Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Edwards' comments. I think the owner just needs to work with our staff to get a plan for remediation, whatever that is. And, you know, there's lots of creative ways of doing that. I would add comments that this lot could use plantings along the front and securities to ensure that we get those. We are always looking for trying to bring properties closer into compliance. That first 50 feet of shoreline is the ribbon of life that keeps our lakes healthy. This is a small lake, even more important. So I would, if the staff can see to something like that, I would be very happy. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before I read a resolution? All right. I've got it right here. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that site alteration stop work order and order to remedy OTR 2024 be confirmed by council. Okay, just no questions, no comments. I'll call the question. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think we're done. Oh, yeah. Just in case anyone's interested, the fact that these appeals are coming here is something we'll probably clean up the next time I think David's going to comment on it. Councillor or CAO Pink.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just now that that's concluded, I know that was somewhat perhaps unusual. I think hopefully it's somewhat eye-opening for council, the difficult line that bylaw staff have to always interplay when complaints come in between neighboring property owners. But I think to depoliticize the process, it's appropriate. We will look to update, ask staff to look to review the site alteration and tree preservation bylaw to bring appeals to an appeal body that's more accustomed to dealing with these situations as opposed to a public council setting. So I know there have been other bylaws that have been asked to be updated, and I know we have a list, but periodic minor technical updates like this, I think are warranted, can be accommodated over the winter months. So just keep your eyes open for that update and recall this process.
Thank you. Councillor Zavitz, you had your hand up.
Thank you. And I agree with everything you've said, David. And I guess the thought of my question here is that in the old council, am I wrong that we would, after an event such as that, we would have a debrief, sort of what, from a staff and council perspective, what was it that helped the final decision? And that we don't seem to do that anymore, and I'm not sure why, because you know, the one of the proponents said the word reward, and one of the advocates here, one of the appellants used the word reward, and I don't see any reward here whatsoever. I think they were thinking that there's, you know, it should be noted that we're simply enforcing our bylaws, and that I think is critical. Anyway.
CEO Pink, you want to follow on that?
Thank you. I don't recall a debrief session amongst council, but certainly if we wish to speak offline and you can refresh my memory, I'm happy to consider it with staff, and we can do so, but I'm not recalling discussions after.
If I might, it was all about the outcomes. It was sort of, I think the mayor or the chair in that particular case of council would ask of staff what created that final outcome.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
What contributed to that?
What contributed?
it's a plan.
Is that a planning thing? Sorry, if it is.
Thank you. Through you, what you may be referring to, I think it's quite some time ago now, under the Planning Act, the province did make changes where the impact of submissions, both verbal and written, needed to be considered by both Committee of Adjustment and Council. And Council, we would ask Council for their thoughts, and we'd have to include that in the notice. We've substituted that with sort of standard language that you always consider fully all submissions that come in your decision making. I think we sort of mirrored other municipalities with that easy approach. So that may be what you're referring to. That was just for planning applications, though.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to suggest we take a break till 10 after whatever that is, 3 o'clock, please. What time is it? Till 10 after 3. I can't see what time it is. Thank you.
I will take my leave then.
Thank you.
Thought you said 3:30.
No, I said 3:15.
It wasn't part.
We'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Bozeman. Or should I say council?
All right.
Yeah, like yeah.
are going to reconvene. If everybody could, if everybody could take a seat, Councilor Nishikawa included, we'll be good to go. Councilor Roberts, can you hear me? All right, good work.
Can you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
No.
You can't?
Sorry, I guess we did hear you after all. Where are we? Seeing communications, right? Okay, first up, just want to make sure we've got everyone here. Councillor Bosenworth has left the scene. I think everyone else is still here. That's good. We're going to invite Ms. Kayleen Turchette to this mic. She's already there. Go ahead. We have a communications strategy report. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Kelly. This is on, right? Yeah. And members of council, this report includes a final draft of the communications strategy. As you recall, a draft communication strategy was presented to General Finance Committee in May of this year. Following that meeting, comments were received and taken into consideration as we prepared the final draft attached to this staff report. All of the updates we've done between these two reports are highlighted in yellow in the draft strategy. I'm really looking forward to seeing this strategy move forward. Once adopted, we'll begin implementation of the strategy over the coming months. And steps will begin kind of to move the projects forward. May I ask for any questions?
Well communicated. Does anyone have any questions? I'm seeing none. I have a resolution that I will read. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved, the council adopt the communications strategy as attached as Appendix 1 to Staff Report LS-2024-027. Anyone with comments? Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you. I'm wondering the reference to a rebuild of our website. Is that contemplated in the 2025 budget? I mean, I know it's in front of us, but.
Want to pick up that one, or is Director Donaldson available? Somebody want to run down there? He's in the meeting. He's furiously looking up the answer.
I think I can answer it.
Okay,
Like,
go ahead.
For you, we are including that in the draft budget for our new website in 2025.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments? I've read the resolution. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nicely done. All right, next I'm going to call on Deputy Clerk Hollows to speak to us about all board appointments. This is one of those ones we got to pay attention to because it does possibly involve closed. You want to get hooked up on that.
Good afternoon, Council. We are in receipt of an application from an individual to serve the Muskoka Lakes community on the Bala Community Center Hall Board. Staff have verified that the applicant is qualified. The mayor has confirmed the applicant's selection as required by Section 2.11.1 of the Township Procedural Bylaw 2023-089. In order to preserve the privacy of the applicant, their name has been disclosed to council through a confidential memo. Should council wish to discuss the merits of the appointment of this individual, it should do so in council in closed session. The appointment resolution can be read upon arising from the closed session meeting. Should council not wish to discuss the merits of the appointment of the individual, it may proceed with the reading of the appointment resolution at this time.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? We've done this a few times this year. I'll read a resolution if we have it. I don't see any questions or comments. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that citizen members be appointed to community center hall boards as detailed in confidential memo CCS-2024-23, and that confidential memo CCS-2024-23 hereby be made public. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. All right, the next one, I'm going to step over here and not eat cookies.
Oh, okay.
Gluten-free butter tarts there.
Yeah.
I was just about to read the resolution. Okay, Mr. Moore. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Council. Today's report is the award of contract 2024-04 for the Port Carling Community Center HVAC system upgrades to Snyder Construction for the bid price of $133,900 plus HST. Council will recall this project originated with just the replacement of the rooftop unit itself. As we went through that process, we found some irregularities with the system as a whole. The scope of this work is to fix those, and then upon completion of those, we will proceed with replacing the actual rooftop unit through a typical request for quote process using the remaining funds from the project itself. With that, Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions for Mr. Moore? Okay, seeing none, I will read the resolution. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that Council award contract T 2024-04 to Snyder Construction for the bid price of $133,900 plus HST. And that staff be authorized to use the balance of the approved project funds in the amount of $96,100 to replace the rooftop unit upon completion of the HVAC system upgrades and to cover any additional costs that may be associated with the project, including unanticipated out-of-scope work. And that the Director of Operational Services be authorized to execute the necessary documents to proceed with this contract. Okay, are there any comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries.
Thank you.
All right, next one I think is Tim, you're up. Mr. Slutko. Welcome.
Thank you. So the report for council today is for the authorize a budget reallocation to fund the forecasted shortfall in the Leonard Lake Road 2 rock removal project. As a quick overview of the project's being completed to as an operational improvement to improve room for township equipment and to also with a secondary benefit of improving drainage and safety. As part of the work, several utility poles have to be relocated to allow the removal of the rock. The utility relocation rock removal costs have been updated to reflect actual forecasted costs from each of the utility companies and the drilling and blasting contractor. The estimate for the work to be completed in 2024 is $85,000 higher than the approved budget of $110,000. Funds are available from the Walker's Point Road and Butler Road projects to fund the identified shortfall. And in accordance with township policy, staff have been delegated limited authority to amend the capital budget. As this relocation is above the identified threshold, council approval is required to approve this reallocation. With that, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Anyone with questions? Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. And I think I probably already, my question would be through you too, Tim. My concern would be for Walker's Point Road in particular is the dust suppressant. That has to be continued, and I hope that reallocating funds doesn't take away from that, because that's the biggest complaint I'm hearing these days is that dust. And so I just want to make sure that we're paying attention to that and not leaving no monies there to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and through you, there is remaining funds available in the budget, and if any sweeping that we have to do next year to prepare for slurry seal will come out of the slurry seal budget. So there's no impact to the budget as part of this request.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? I'll read a resolution. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that council authorize the reallocation of $50,000 of approved capital funding from Walker's Point Road, bracket project 24068, and $35,000 of approved capital funding from Butler Road, bracket project 24190, to the Leonard Lake Road Rock Removal Project, bracket project 24150, in the approved amount of $85,000 as proposed. Any questions, comments? I'll call it. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to zoning bylaws. Welcome. We're going to have a pitch on all of them, some of them.
Hello, thank you, Mayor Kelly. Good afternoon, members of council. As council may recall, zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 1324 in the name of Baldacero was last heard by council on June 12th, 2024, where council gave first and second reading of the bylaw. Council decided to withhold third reading until such time as the land in original road allowance application ORA/06/23 amended is conveyed to the satisfaction of the township. Staff from the township's clerks and legislative services department have confirmed that this has now taken place. Planning staff therefore recommend that third reading of the bylaw be given today. I have no further comments, but I'm happy to assist council with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll read a resolution. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zabitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-069 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Baldacero, roll number 8-5-016, be read a third time and finally passed. Any comments? Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right. So up next is who's doing Wilson? Is somebody on Wilson? Well, join us. No? Have we? Is it? Oh, okay, that's good. Oh, no, that's fine. We'll just read a resolution.
You do it.
That wasn't a test. I was just curious. Thanks. It's all a test. Moved by Councillor Mazan, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-106 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Wilson, roll number 4-13-030, be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And then we also on that same file, moved by Councillor Zabitz, seconded by Councillor Mazan, be it resolved that bylaw 2024-106 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Wilson, roll number 4-13-030, be read a third time and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right, next up, Bowman. Does it keep on rolling? All right, this one's moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-107 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, bracket Bowman, roll number 8-2-030, be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And next up is moved by Councillor Edwards. Yeah, moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-107 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Bowman, roll number 8-2-030, be read a third time and finally passed. All in favor? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one on this section is Lamb. Welcome back, Ms. Crowder.
Thank you. As council may recall, zoning bylaw amendment application ZBA 2924 in the name of Lamb was heard concurrently with consent application B 12921 ML by Planning Committee on September 12th, 2024. Planning Committee recommended that the application be approved, subject to revisions to the bylaw, to rezone a wetland on part of the retained lot to environmental protection EP1, and to require a setback of 15 meters or 49.2 feet from the boundaries of the wetland to building and septic envelopes on the severed and retained lots. The bylaw before council today reflects these revisions. Staff also recommend that a number of amendments be passed today, which consist of the following. An edit to section 1, subsection 2, to clarify that the exemption is from section 6.1.3 of bylaw 2014-14. An edit to section 1, subsection 2, to clarify that the permitted development envelopes for the severed lot in consent application B 12921 ML include any leaching bed distribution pipe associated with any private on-site sewage disposal systems, removal of Schedule 3, and lastly, technical administrative edits to the schedules as required. Staff have no further comments, but are happy to assist council with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, I will read a resolution. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-108 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket Lamb, roll number 2-26-085-04 be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right. Few amendments here. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved, the Township Council amend bylaw 2024-108 bracket Lamb, roll number 2-26-085-04. And these amendments are minor in nature and do not require further public circulation and are hereby approved prior to third reading. These amendments shall consist of, first, an edit to section 1, sub 2, to clarify that the exemption is from section 6.1.3 of bylaw 2014-14. Next, an edit to section 1, sub 2, to clarify that the permitted development envelopes for the severed lot in consent application B/129/21/ML include any leaching bed distribution pipe associated with any private on-site sewage disposal systems. Number 3, removal of Schedule 3. And the last one, technical/administrative edits to the schedules as required. Anyone with questions or comments? All in favor? Well, that carries. Thank you very much. Okay, last one on that one. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-108 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14, Lamb, roll number 2-26-085-04, be read a third time and finally passed. Questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we've got, I think, 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5. We got a few general and other planning bylaws. Normally, I think we have Krishal here to do the intros. She's on vacation, so we're going to ask Deputy Clerk Hollows to step in her place and look after the summaries, please.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. In front of you, you have 4 sale of original Shore Road allowances. The bylaws give us authority to stop up, close, and convey an original Shore Road allowance from their respective lakes to the abutting landowner. I didn't know, I just thought we could just run through the resolutions, but if you have any questions or comments after the during this process, please let us know. But in general, these things flow rather nicely on their own. So if you're in agreement, that's what we'll do.
I see no objection. Thank you. All right, first one, moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance, part of Block B, Plan M-119 of the geographic township of Wood, now in the township of Muskoka Lakes in the district municipality of Muskoka, be declared as surplus land. And that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001. And that bylaw 2024-103 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original road allowance designated as parts 1 to 8 on Plan 35R-27579 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? Carries. Thank you. It's your pen. All right, number 2. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Camel Lake, lying in front of concession 4, lot 7 Watt, designated as part 1 on Plan 35R-27497, Noble, roll number 2-2-036, be declared as surplus land. And that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act, and that bylaw 2024-095 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of the original shore road allowance designated as part 1 on 35R-27497 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Carries. Next one, moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Skeleton Lake, lying in front of Plan M-285, part lot 7 Watt, designated as part 2 on Plan 35R-27534, Devalk, roll number 2-19-031, be declared as surplus land. And that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2024-110 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of shore road allowance, original shore road allowance designated as part 2 on 35R-27534 be given 3 readings and finally passed. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Last one. Okay, last one. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Skeleton Lake lying in front of concession 12, lot 8 Watt, designated as part 1 on Plan 35R-27575, Mantega Holdings, Inc., roll number 2-20-071, be declared as surplus land. And that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2024-111 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of shore road, of original shore road allowance designated as part 1 on 35R-27575 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's next up? Let's keep reading.
Site plan control. A couple of them.
All right, we got a couple more site plan controls here to talk about. Nobody introducing, so I'll just read it. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-104 to designate site plan control, part of lots 14 and 15, concession 5, and part of lots 13 and 14, concession 6, Medora, Little, roll number 4-2-013, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. And this would be the last one. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-105 to designate site plan control, part of lot 19, concession 9, more particularly described as part 2 on plan BR-1722 Medora, Wilson, roll number 4-13-030 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right. So next step up is a motion made by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Mazan. Be it resolved, the council in closed session convene at
3:36.
3:36 PM for A, exemption, litigation, or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Section 239 sub 2 sub E of the Municipal Act 2001. Exemption, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Section 239 sub 2 sub F of the Municipal Act 2001. Number one, confidential report CCS-2024-24. B, exemption, litigation, or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Section 239 sub 2 sub E of the Municipal Act 2001. One, confidential report. Oh, this one's not required, right?
Yeah, I just scratched that one.
And this too?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one's not required because we already dealt with it in open. And then another exemption, proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, section 239 sub 2 sub C of the Municipal Act 2001. And that's as described, I suppose, in confidential report CCS-2024-26. Okay, any questions? All in favor? We are in close. Thank you.
Should take a 5-minute break to set up the Zoom.
Yeah, we'll take 5 minutes, set up the Zoom. I'll get all confidentially and then we can come back.
Mrs. Hollow? Hello?
Yes, Counselor?
Yes, I may lose connection. I have to move to another room, and if I do.
Well, you do have to log into a new Zoom connection as well,
yes.
Counselor Roberts. Okay,
That's
yeah,
what
well,
I will
we'll
do, but
keep
if
an
I'm
eye on
not
it.
there, continue without me.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the
bye.
heads up.